Hi, it's Kathy with Inking It Up with Kathy.blogspot.com, an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I want to go over the big shot plates that we carry and tell you when and why you need them. Now that we've got 3 different plates, I thought it might be nice to go over them with you. This sheet here I put together for a class recently, and it covers the multi-purpose base plate, the magnetic platform, and the precision plate. And then I also put on the back for them the various papers and what to do, and a tip that I have. I will have this on my blog so you can download it and print it yourself. But let's get started with the different plates. Okay, your first plate is the multi-purpose platform, and as you can see here, I only have tab 1 on mine. Because I am in a class environment, tab 2 most of the time doesn't get used anymore because all it would work with was wafer thin dies. So we were always flipping it back and forth, and I got tired of that. So I actually unscrewed the bracket here and removed it so that all I needed was tab 1 to stay on there. And I just took some shipping tape and wrapped it around the outside edges, and that holds on there, although it's coming loose on this one corner. And then this would be for embossing folders, and with embossing folders you'll need 2 plates. I also, because I'm in a class environment, I put a label on that it's for embossing folders only, no framelits. Although you do see that somebody did cut one. This keeps these plates smooth and flat and gives you a better impression. Once you start to get a coved plate, you start to lose that really nice even embossing. So that's what I use the multi-purpose platform for. You can also do framelits on it. You can also do intricate dies on it, but I don't recommend it. The old textures plates, sizzlets, embosslets, and clearlets all work on it as well. Our next plate is the magnetic platform plate, and with that you will need 2 acrylic plates. Now, some people think that this is magnetic all the way across, and it's not, and it's very difficult to see, but maybe in the glare you'll be able to notice these little circles. They're about 1/2-inch circles. Those are where the magnets are. So if you have a small die and set it somewhere, it may move around on you in order to get into the correct position. Let's see if we can get it to do it with this. I've even got a smaller die. See how that jumps? So what you want to do when you have that, instead of trying to move your die, you'll either want to move your plate. So you can slide your plate, and then as you can see, this little die moves with it. That way you can place it exactly where you want it and move the plate to get it to seat where you want. Or you can move your cardstock, and so you can move your cardstock around and adjust where the framelit ends up. So that's the magnetic platform. You do not want to use embossing folders on it. You can use framelits and thinlits on it, intricate dies, but not textures plates, sizzlets, embosslets, clearlits, or wafer thin dies. Now, if you're not familiar with the difference of a framelit and a thinlit, this is a framelit, this is a thinlit. A framelit frames around something, so your image would be in here, and this is a frame. A thinlit is your actual design itself and will be solid. So that's the difference between a framelit and a thinlit. Finally, we have the precision base plate, and it is for cutting thinlits, not framelits. This doesn't work well on this plate, and if you do, this will warp. So you don't want to use it with framelits. You only want to use it with the thinlits, these detailed, intricate dies. You also do not want to cut on this side. You actually cut on this side. The other thing I don't recommend you do is put it onto your magnetic platform. They are both metal, and it will grab a hold and it'll be extremely difficult for you to take apart. So what you'll want to do is use your multi-purpose platform, but in this case you will need tab 2. So in this one you can see I still have tab 2 connected. This happens to be a second base plate that I have, and I actually taped this to the outside edges. So these are the types of dies you want to put on them, and you will want to put your paper and then your Thinlit over and one acrylic plate. Now I have determined that for me it does cut through well, but it will stick inside your framelit. What I do to solve that is I use a little piece of wax paper. A lot of people are using dryer sheets. The only difference, and the reason I use wax paper is so much cheaper. I went to the dollar store, I got a roll, I cut it into 4.5-inch widths, or tear it, and then it's a 12-inch wide. I cut it in half, so I've got 4.5 by 6. I put them with my framelits, and I get over 350 sheets for cutting. So I'll take this and put it through my Big Shot. And I always roll forward and back. You'll see that it comes out of the Thinlit perfectly. The wax paper won't allow it to stick. And then I can just peel the wax paper piece off. And you can even use that as an emboss resist by ironing it onto some paper and then brayering with ink, or you can just use the piece itself. And then this is ready for taking out all of these pieces. Now, in the upcoming 2016 Occasions catalog, we are introducing this die brush and foam pad, and you can take your die, and I like to do it on the back, and you just kind of roll over it gently, and as you can see, it takes all of those pieces out. And maybe you'll have a few little ones to knock out on your own, but for the most part, it takes them out very quickly. So that is the precision base plate. Okay, so now let's go over some of the papers. For your regular card stock, there isn't anything that you need to do special with it. For vellum, when using vellum, you might need to take a couple of pieces of copy paper or grid paper and put those below the vellum. It helps allow for a better cut. So what I will do is I will take that and put it on my either my magnetic platform or my precision base plate with the two sheets, my vellum piece, and then my die. Actually, not my die. I want to get my piece of wax paper and then put my die and my plate and run it through like that, and I will get a good cut. For designer series paper, it's a lot thinner, and so you don't need to do all of that. I still usually use my wax paper with it just to make it easier for coming out of my die. I'm not having to poke through the little holes at all. It just comes right out. I do not recommend that you use this brush. The designer series paper is too thin with that foam, and you may put some holes in it. If you do try it, just make sure that you keep a very, very light touch to it. Glimmer papers. This is in the new 2016 Occasions catalog. This is a Blushing Bride glimmer paper. Isn't that gorgeous? When doing that, I recommend, if you can, to turn it upside down. Use your wax paper and your Thinlit die and run it through 3 or 4 times. Because of the thickness of the paper, it doesn't work quite as well. If you can cut this direction, and obviously you would have to if it was words you were cutting out. But in that case, I would recommend you put a couple of the pieces of paper again to allow it to have something to cut down into a little bit more. But I have found better luck with it upside down like this, because you're cutting through the hardest part of it first. And then finally, for foil papers, have you ever noticed that you take your foil paper and say you're doing something like a framelit. Now, I wouldn't be using the precision base plate with a framelit. I'd be using my magnetic platform. But if I took this and ran this through like this, any cutting lines on here would mar into that smooth foil surface. So again, what I do is take that piece of wax paper, and that will protect that pretty shiny surface. And when you take it through and cut it, you won't get that any markings on it. I can actually even take a plate that looks like this, and none of this will show over that because the wax paper will protect it. Well, that's the differences between the plates when you use them. So I hope that helps you, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining me.